Hello everyone. This is my first time presenting at a virtual conference. So I really have no idea if anybody's hearing me, but oh good, somebody said they can hear me. That's great. Um, okay, so my name is Wayne Greenway, and I'm going to be speaking to you about why you are not getting job offers. And I just a little bit of background about me. It's in the bio, but I'll just tell you a little bit. I own a company called Career Aviators. I'm a career management consultant. I've been doing it about 8 years. Proud to be a certified B corporation. And if you have any interest in learning about certified B corporations, just go to my website and click the contact form. Or for that matter, if you have any questions you want to talk to me about after the session, you're welcome to contact me that way. And you can even set up an appointment, a brief appointment to chat. But I love to tell you about certified B corporations. This is going to be an old-fashioned presentation because I'm not going to do PowerPoint. We're going to talk about some really important principles, but I think you should be able to get them pretty quickly, and you can just take some notes on your keyboard or with the old-fashioned pen and paper. Let's start off with the first thing I want to say is that if you're not getting job offers, don't beat yourself up. The HR system is actually broken. You can read that in the business journals from HR people. I'm not making it up. And a friend of mine, just an example, a friend of mine is an HR director. She works at a small to medium-sized company, and she gets 250 to 350 applications for every job that she posts, and so you can imagine there's only 2 of them in the department. You can imagine how much work that is to do all the other jobs that an HR department does, and then have to screen 250 applications and try to send 3 or 4 out of those 250 applications, really great people, to the hiring manager. Well, the thing is that if there's 250 applications, you can probably bet that 50 of them would probably be fine in the job, and maybe 8 or 10 of them would do an excellent job in different ways. So if 50 of them would do a good job, you know that 200 of those applications are never going to hear from the company. They're going to take those top applications and they might screen down to 10 to do a preliminary interview. So there's another 40 that are never going to hear from the company. And then those 10, they're going to do a preliminary interview. And as you probably know, the preliminary interview is to determine whether you are worth interviewing in a second round. Do you have the qualifications they need to do the job? That's the main purpose of that interview. They may check some other things, but that's the main purpose. So that means that there's 240 people who are never going to hear from the company out of 250 that came in. So you can see that, you know, I'm going to give you some things today for reasons why you're not getting it, but it could be just a numbers issue. So don't beat yourself up too badly. But I am going to tell you some things that'll give you much more of a chance of getting offers, getting interviews, and getting offers. So let's talk about the something that crosses all of those things. That is 2 areas, and you probably suspect that I'd be telling you that it's the resume and the interview, but I don't think so. I think the most important thing is your mindset and your focus. You know, let's just put it this way: if you were hiring somebody, who would you want to hire? Would you want to hire somebody whose body language in the interview is indicating some like sort of desperation, or the way they phrase their sentences, or they're all over the place in their letter and their interview? They seem kind of scattered. They're not really in the room. They're somewhere else when they're answering the questions. Or would you want to hire somebody who's focused and flexible, who's open-minded, who's curious, has a learning mindset, wants to learn? From which group would you want to hire? And the thing is that if you have a mindset of scarcity or desperation, or or you're not very focused, that's going to show up in everything you do. Your resume, it's going to show up in your interview, it's going to show up even when you negotiate an offer. So having a mindset is really important. Now you might say, well, how do I change my mindset? Well, there are some very good courses on mindfulness, and they work. Mindfulness is if you can become more mindful and more present, you will do better in all aspects of your search. And you can take a lot of those courses are offered for free now during COVID. So I strongly recommend you do that. It'll really help you in your interviews, but it'll also help with everything else. But I also teach a technique when I work with clients that people do. It's not the whole ball of wax about mindfulness, but it's a 3-minute technique that people do every day, and they just gradually become more and more present. And I'm doing a course in the second week of August called the COVID Career Life Raft that is going to introduce some of those concepts. It's free, and it's you can get to that on Eventbrite. But let's get back to this. So the second thing is your focus. We've talked about mindset. Now it's focus. Okay, so again, who would you want to hire? Somebody who's a scattergun. The second thing is that a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to be open to anything that sort of crosses my skills, and that way I'll have better chances for the job. Wrong. Doesn't work. The more focused you are in your search, you need to determine the role or maybe 2 roles that you want to do, and then you need to network like crazy to get ahead of the application and be able to talk to the hiring manager before the job is posted. So being more focused you are the better. Job search is like a funnel. So when you start out, you are kind of all over the place. And if you start to assess yourself, really do that self-assessment and figure out, what are my strengths? What are the strengths? In fact, what are the strengths I want to use in the next role? What are the values that are going to drive those strengths? What are the things that are really important to me in my work and my life? Because they'll drive your strengths. And what am I most curious about? And if you can narrow those things down, then that'll give you an area to explore, and then you'll learn about roles within that area, and you can then talk to people who are doing that specific job and find out whether it's a match for you, and then zero in on that particular role. And again, do the networking. That's another topic for another session, but do the networking together. Okay, so I'm going to go into why are you sending in resumes and not getting interviews? Well, there's 3 main reasons that I see all the time. First of all, if you're applying on sites like Indeed, I've had clients who have put in 100 applications into Indeed and not got a single reply, and for the reasons I talked about in the beginning of the session. Now, if you're applying to those online platforms and you have no connection to the company, you haven't spoken to the hiring manager before the posting, you don't know anybody in the department, you haven't networked to find that, you have an 8% chance of landing an interview. 8% chance. So you can see why you're probably not getting replies to more interviews. And the thing is that if you've made a contact in a company, if you know somebody in the department, or if they have a referral program where employees will get a bonus if they refer the right person to the job, you'll find that your chances really increase. The thing about Indeed job descriptions is you read them, they're kind of like horoscopes. If anybody's ever read you a horoscope, somebody else's horoscope, and not told you what it is, you'll probably say it's like me. And that's what happens when you read those ads. You'll read the ads and say, well, I could do that. Well, as soon as you hear yourself saying, I could do that, change the question and say, do I have multiple successes for multiple qualifications for that job? And if the answer is no, you shouldn't be applying for it. If you have in-depth successes in 2 or 3 areas in the job description, okay. But if you've just done a little bit of this and a little bit of that, don't bother applying. It's not worth it. So it's also, those ads are also like candy, because you write your letter and you send in the application, you feel really good, just like you do when you eat a candy, and then it's gone. but it can be futile unless you know the position that you really want to go after, and you've done the networking you need to do ahead of time. Okay, second reason is your bullets in your resume. The bullets in the resume need to be accomplishment oriented. If you look at the bullets in your resume under each job and they read like the job description for the job, they need to change. You need to get them 80% of the bullets so that they're accomplishment oriented, and 20% of the bullets should be responsibility oriented. So, and you need to include the metrics. You need to be able to say, okay, so what did I accomplish in this job? And then try to figure out how that was measured. Was it measured? And even if you can give a very conservative estimate that your boss in that job would agree with, put that in. So, so I increased sales over the course of 8 months. I increased sales by 22%. That's a strong bullet because it's success and it has a metric to it. If you said sold cars for 8 months, it's not really going to help the hiring manager to decide between you and the other person. And so you need to remember who you're writing to. You're writing to somebody who needs to hire somebody with particular qualifications. And so they need to know, they don't need to know if you've done the qualification. They need to know if you've been successful at it, if you're good at it. And you need to show them. So forget about pride and or your don't want to boast. You don't have to boast. You just have to say what you've done. And then the second thing is fitting yourself. Sometimes people will fit themselves into, try to fit themselves into a job. And that's a little bit what I was talking about before. They see the ad, they try to fit themselves into the ad. Don't do that. Decide what you want, decide on your strengths, what you're good at, what the values that are really important to you, and what you're most curious about. Get those things, and then decide the job titles that fit that, and then talk to people doing those jobs so you can gather more intelligence about the job and the industry, and start building a team of people who will look out for you before the job is posted. And so those are some of the really important things that I think the reasons why you wouldn't be getting interviews. Now I'm going to talk about if you're getting interviews and not getting offers, because that's the next problem. And so there's three things. I'm going to go back to mindset. It's when I have clients who are landing interviews, but they're never getting past the first interview or not getting past the second interview, we videotape them with a human resource officer interviewing them who they don't know. So it's not me. And and then we watch the video together. And you can, I don't have to say anything. They'll tell me why they're not getting interviews, because their body language is saying something completely different from their answers. Their answers are maybe their answers are all correct. They really are delivering those, but there's something about their body language. Maybe it's desperation, maybe it's confusion, maybe it's not that they're not present, something about their body language that doesn't match the answers. And then the person who's doing the interviewing is not going to know what that is, but they're going to know that there's something odd. There's something odd there, and they're not going to take a risk. They can't afford to take risks. And so the second thing reason why people don't get offers when they don't go from an interview to an offer is because they fail to realize who they're talking to. I've done about 5,000 interviews in my career, and I can say that the majority of people who didn't get an offer failed at the question, why do you want this job? And the most common failure in that question is they answer it as though they're talking to their mom or their dad. I'll exaggerate with this one, but say somebody said, why didn't you get this job? And I was going to go for a political strategist job with a consulting company. And I said, well, I really want this job because it would be great preparation for me. I see myself having a great political future. I'd even like to become prime minister someday. Well, that's very interesting. As the interviewer, that's very interesting. It's nice that you have a career direction. But you know what? My job is to find somebody who can do this job and who can add value to this job. So I would far rather the interviewee say to me, a reason why they want the job in a way that helps the company or the way that helps the department. And especially if you've done the networking you need to do before the interview with people who work in that department, you'll know what the gaps are. And that's very important to understand what their pain points or their gaps are, because your job is to help them fill that gap or to help them solve the problems with your expertise in the role that you're doing. And so you want to speak to that with all of your answers, including that one. You want to say why you want the job in a way that helps them. And that's often the thing, is that people say why they want the job in a way that helps themselves. And that's not going to work. And then the other big one is that people fail to prepare properly for the interview. So you picture yourself as an interviewer. You have a list of criteria. Those criteria are usually the qualifications in the ad. So they're looking for people who have successes in those qualifications. So when you prepare for your interview, it's critically important that you take each of those qualifications and you develop a story that talks about your successes or success in that particular area. Maybe in some cases you want to have one or two examples. And the format of those stories are, I have an incredible experience in that type of accounting. When I worked in ABC company, I did this, and these were the results. And you want to make sure the results show success, or when I worked in ABC company, I made an improvement to the whole XYZ process, and this is what the result was. And so you need to prepare a story for each thing. Second thing is that those nasty behavioral questions that I haven't met anybody who likes is, tell me about the conflicts you've had with a supervisor. That's going to be a question. Conflict. That multitasking is going to be. Tell me about an experience where you've had to do multitasking. Tell me about an experience where you've had a conflict with a supervisor. That's going to happen. Oh dear, I'm running out of time. So I've pretty well covered everything, and I'm sorry, I only have 3 minutes left for questions. But if anybody has any questions, you could put them in the chat box if I can figure out how it works. And I see some coming in right now. Okay. Mindset that goes a long way. How do you get to know about a job posting before it's advertised? Okay, so what you do, if you've decided on what role you want to do, what you do is you find people who are doing that role, and you target those. You send an email to them, and you ask them if you can have a short meeting with them to discuss their expertise in the area. You have a conversation with them, you develop trust with them, and they become a lookout if the conversation is going well. That's networking, and it's a whole topic of another session. What are the 3-minute techniques for mindfulness? Well, I don't have 3 minutes to tell you, but I am doing that workshop in the second week of August. It's free, and so if you want to come to that, you're welcome to. And or if you want to get in touch with me, I can explain it in a phone call. It's a very simple exercise that you do, but it would take a few minutes to lead into it and explain it. You can please share the link. You would just go to Eventbrite and type in COVID career life raft, and what it is it's preparing for the job search. So it's all the things you need to do to get your mind ready and to be ready to launch a job search. It's the platform you need to create to get going. Okay, I'm at 2:49. Is there any last questions anybody wants to pop in? We got 1 minute. Best way for career change, studies. Oh, okay, that's a good question. My recommendation is if you want to do a job, network with the people who are doing that job, and then if you have you think you have successes in that area, then talk to them about how you could do that job without going back to school. What I find is that if you get in the job and then you take courses to improve your skills and knowledge, they're going to be way different courses than if you I guess it's over. Oh, okay. Actually, well, sorry. Are you still online? I don't know how this works. If you're still online, it says that Career Life Raft is sold out. Well, that's interesting. I can fix that. So go back this evening, and you'll see another set of dates. I do it in small groups so that we can really get to know each other. Oh, okay. There's 10 minutes. Excellent, excellent. Okay, thanks. I didn't know that. Okay. So wow, these I'm not sure how to use this chat box. Let me see if I can see any more questions here. If you have any questions, you can type them in again. Yeah, I'll fix the Career Life Raft, and so we'll just offer another week where I can do that. It's an hour a day from 10 to 11. Okay. Any other questions that you want to type in before we end? Oh, well, okay. Oh, wow. Oh, thanks, Laura. One of the things I won't be teaching you is web savviness. It won't be one of my traits. How do you network with people in the company you are applying to? Okay, that's a very tricky. It's delicate. What I usually suggest to clients is that they go into the company and they look at people who they would be working with through LinkedIn, and they send them a carefully worded message. You don't want the person to feel like they're going to compromise themselves, or give you an unfair advantage. But I've had good success with clients writing to those people and saying, I'm applying for the position of, and I'm doing my research on the company and the job, and I'd really appreciate 10 minutes of your time to learn about the company culture. And you can start out with those questions, and you may just find out some information that you and the other person may not have anticipated learning about, but it really does help you to understand what the gaps are ahead of time. And the other way is to do the networking with people who are in that role. Set them up as lookouts for positions for the future, and that's a whole other topic. And they'll email you with, if you get to know them, they'll email you and let you know about positions before they're posted. What body language should I look for in interviewers? Wow, that's a great question. Well, I think you need to, they're human beings too, and you can notice if their body language, if they're leaning forward, if they're interested, if they're asking you some questions. There's two kinds of interviews. There's the oral test where I call it the oral test, where they just ask you a question, you answer it, they all write down their answers, and then they ask you another question. I never found it very effective when I was hiring people, but a lot of companies use it, and then they rate your answers. But sometimes if you ask a question at the end of the interview, like, I'm just wondering if I answered all your questions about my qualifications for the position. If you ask that question and somebody is kind of keen on you but has some doubts, they might just give them the freedom, because sometimes they're tied in the formal part of the interview, but they might be able to ask them that questions that they have to see whether you're the right fit or not. I've gotten many interviews and gotten to the second and third stage, and then goes to that I'm either too technical or they went a different way. Okay, well, first of all, the thing is be wary of what companies tell you for feedback. I don't even think it's worth asking companies for feedback. Some people suggest clients do that. I don't, because most people are afraid to say very much specific. So most employers are gonna, unless they're very kind and they're a kind of a mentoring type of person, they're basically going to give you a politically correct answer. Like we found somebody with more skills, or we found somebody who's a better fit, and it really doesn't usually help you unless you happen to luck out. So I think what I would do is I think I would I would really drill into for your next interview. I would try to get in touch with people who work in that department, find out what the culture of the department is, but also find out what are the gaps that that position is going to solve. And then when you're in the interview, you want to tailor your answers to those gaps, or sometimes they're called pain points. You want to tailor your answers to that. Best strategy to get the first call after sending the CV. I'm failing to get that first call. Okay, well, I mean, those are the first three reasons I talked about why you're not getting interviews. So it could be a few things, but I think the thing is that you need to get ahead of the posting, and see by getting ahead of the posting. If you have a network out there of lookouts, people who you've talked to who are in the field, who then lets you know about a position before it's posted, that then lets you talk to the hiring manager, because most hiring managers will talk to you before it's posted, and they'll give you the chance to, they'll give you a few minutes of their time because it isn't officially gone up yet. And you can say to them, I give them your pitch, say that I'm very interested in this position, and I'd really like to know, what skills you're really looking for. I'd like to know if I'm the right fit or not. And most hiring managers will give you quite a bit of information at that stage. And so then you can tailor your resume, and you can tailor your cover letter to match both what's in the ad, but also what that hiring manager has said, because you're going to be helping them to solve your problems. It comes back to always focus on who you're talking to. It's like in retail, you're going to focus on sales. We're still live. How can we join your program? Yeah, so just go to Eventbrite and type in COVID Career Life Raft, but give me half an hour or so, because we're full, I guess, and I just need to set up another week. I wasn't expecting to be full quite so fast. Best strategy to get, okay, I think we've answered that. Let's see if there's any I missed. Body language. What body language should I look? Okay. How do you network? I think I've answered that. You can see I'm not a pro at this. How can I make your resume stand out if you don't have connections? Well, you really need the connections. You really do. But again, it's going at their qualifications. Look at the qualifications, and then look at what go to each of your jobs and create accomplishments that fit those qualifications. So take qualification 1, go to each job and create, if you can, you can't make it up, but create an accomplishment or a success that you've had in that qualification. Then go do qualification 2 throughout. If there's 10 of them, do all 10, and then go to the next job. Take the qualifications, run through them all again, so that your bullet should correspond specifically to the qualifications. And you want to use language that they use in that ad, because they're screening a lot of resumes by computer or apps or software. And when they do that, it's looking for the number of times their keywords comes up in the ad. So you want to make sure that you're using their language and speak directly to their qualifications. You want to make it so easy that they see exactly how you fit that job. You want to make it. I try to work with clients so that, first of all, they're the right fit for the job. They're not climbing the wrong mountain. They're going after a job in which they have strengths and that they value and that they're curious about. Once we've got that, then when they go after that position, they're going to make it incredibly easy for that person who's reviewing the answer to see that you have repeated successes in multiple qualifications. And your resume is the proof of your successes in multiple qualifications. And then your cover letter is just going to speak to how you fit the job across your career. So the cover letter says, yes, I fit those qualifications in a more sophisticated way. And then the resume is your proof of the evidence of successes in multiple qualifications. I think we're done. maybe. Oh, 1 more minute. Okay, what kind of questions that will be able to gain more attention and a chance for a job? I'm not sure what that means. What about moving to a new, what about moving to a new area wanting to leave your old career behind and go back to something you did years ago? Okay, so the one thing you need to know is things are changing so fast. So what you need to do is to, again, identify the role you want to do the networking with, 10 or 15 people. If it's really what you want to do, talk to 10 or 15 people who are working in that area and have individual conversations with them. It's a lot of work, hours of work. You should plan on working on your job search full time. And you need, what I say to clients is plan on a month of full-time searching for every $10,000 they want to make. So you need to talk to, in this case, you need to talk to 10 or 15 people who are doing that job, and you need to interview them about their role. And you tell them in their email that you want to transition back into this field and you'd like to learn how the field has changed. And you're going to need to determine, do I need to go back and do training, or can I transition and learn as I go? Well, a lot of fields, if you've been away that long, you may have to do some training, but it doesn't necessarily mean going back and doing a degree or a long certificate. Sometimes you can get them with short, specific courses. It is a solution to not include discriminatory prior to filling out, oh my gosh, applications. Is there a solution to not including, I'm afraid I don't understand that one. I mean, you might want to, that answered that question, is there a solution discriminatory? You may want to get in touch with me through my, and then I can ask more questions about your question. If recruiters are asking for a low pay rate as per our experience, should we accept the offer in this COVID situation? Well, I don't, I'd want to talk to you about the specific situation, but I don't think you should be accepting low pay rates because of COVID. I think that you should know what the going rate is for that role, and you should, if you're skilled in it, if you have successes in it and they want to hire you, then you should negotiate. And that's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that you should be prepared to negotiate for any position that you are given an offer for. And the thing is that sometimes you're better off to turn down a position that doesn't fit. Even if you're desperate, you may be better turning down a position that doesn't fit or doing it temporarily. But I would say, decide what you're going to go after and go after it, and be flexible, but don't lower your standards too far. Negotiating, will it risk job offers? No, actually, and most employers expect you to negotiate. You need to negotiate politely, things like, well, I'm really looking forward to this job. I was hoping that I could get to a salary of, and is there any way we can come closer to that? It's very polite. The person can say yes or no, but you should do some negotiation. And a lot of times, sometimes you can't negotiate on anything, because if it's a unionized position, then, it's pretty well established. But I would always negotiate. I guess I'm past my time. Is this, I don't know how this works. Do we stay online or is it over? Oh dear. Well, I'll keep answering questions if you want. I guess we're done. So it's past my time. So if you're still there, I'd just like to thank you very much for participating, and feel free to get in touch with me, and I will add on another week of the Career Life Act. All right, thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye-bye.